All right, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another great staff town hall. It's so great to be here with all of you this afternoon. I'm Hallie Nicholson, HR Strategic Communication and Engagement Manager, and I'll be your moderator for this staff town hall. So as usual, we've got a great group of panelists on hand to provide some updates on our operations and to answer your questions. Some of the questions were submitted in advance of the event during registration, and I also encourage you to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll take those questions in as well. We've got folks answering questions behind the scenes in writing, so please do feel free to submit your questions. Our webinar has live closed captioning available in two ways. First, you can click on the closed caption button at the bottom of your screen and select show subtitles, or you can click on the link that will be pasted into the chat. So let's go ahead and get started. We've got lots of content to cover today. So up first, we'll hear from Dr. Angela Sosha, Interim Executive Director of Student Health and Wellbeing. So Angela, passing it over to you.
Thanks, Hallie, and I have a lot of good news to share with everyone. We're going to look at kind of how things are looking in the U.S., and it is very encouraging. You know, the amazing surge that we had related to the Omicron variant has settled down. Numbers are low. They are not quite as low as our lowest point last summer. So we need to keep in mind that virus is still around. The real big difference is we have a much higher rate of boosters and vaccination in the community. So our serious illness rate is better than it was before. So let's keep that in mind. So it's all very encouraging, but virus is still floating out there to some degree. Next slide. Now, the CDC has developed a new scheme of color-coded. It's pretty easy to take advantage of this. It's updated every week, and it's by county. So you can actually search the site and find our county or any other county you may be visiting in the country, and you'll see where they're falling into this. And it's based on the number of cases that are being, and severity of disease that's being reported. Remember, there is less case reporting now as testing has moved kind of to home testing. But what they're looking at is also indicators are hospitalized patients, admissions. This is severe disease. So these colors reflect the amount of severe disease that's circulating in these various counties. So it's an important indicator. And if you look at the map, I think it's really telling to see where we've come in the last few weeks as we come out of this surge. Next slide. So here's a map of the counties in early February. You see quite a bit of yellow and orange and a decent mixture of green. Move ahead a couple weeks. And how does it look? Hey, a month later, we're a lot better with a lot more green. And just 1 week later, this is how you see the surge changing. Most of the country actually is in a green space. So this is a useful tool. Take advantage of the CD site. And I think it's very encouraging as we see that most of the country is moving into not having severe impact to the health system of severe disease, but some virus kind of throughout the country. Next slide. Now, what's happening in Europe? Because we've seen that sometimes what happens in Europe is a signal of what's going to happen here. We are seeing an uptick in some countries in Europe. It's primarily related to BA2. We're watching it carefully, but it's not consistently in all countries. It's only in a few of the countries. And so we will keep watching this, but it's not clear that this portends a new spike coming for the US. Next slide. So why all the interest in BA1 and BA2? They're both in this Omicron variant family, but they're actually considerably different from each other. What you see are the changes in BA1 and BA2 that are the same in the black. These are mutations, right? And how they are mutated from the prior variants. Uniquely, BA1 and BA2 share quite a few mutations, but then there's a group of mutations only BA1 has, and another group that only BA2 have. So they're kind of variants that they're kept in the same family is a decision that's made by the folks who decide what the names of these variants are, but they are not exactly a change of BA1 changing to BA2. It's almost like they evolved in parallel. Now they're clinically fairly similar. They are generally a little less severe than Delta, for certainly the vaccinated and the boosted community, but there are still individuals who are unvaccinated or not up to date with their vaccination who are getting serious disease. So it is still causing serious illness, including deaths. So we need to be respectful of these variants. Next slide. So I just think this is an important point here. This is actually looking at the benefit you get from your initial boosting, or excuse me, your initial vaccination series, which is on the far left to BA1 and BA2, and it's not that much protection. Before, as your immunity wears down, you see that protection against Delta and other variants, as well as BA1 and BA2 also dropping. But after boosting, you get a dramatic rise, and that rise is carrying over to both BA1 and BA2. So you definitely are going to get benefit from being up to date with vaccination to Omicron, both BA1 and BA2. So please take advantage of that. And I'll show how we're doing in our campus community with up-to-date vaccination a little later in this talk. Next slide. So how's California looking? Looking great. You can see a significant drop in California. Kind of looks like the US picture. Next slide. In San Diego County, similarly, we went through the surge. Our numbers seem to be very stable. Hospitalizations have dramatically reduced, and the actual number of positive cases continues to decline. So persistent low level of viral activity, but nothing suggesting anything worse or that we're running into another surge. But we are going to watch this. As you can imagine, we watch it every day, every week. Next slide. So what's one of our tools for watching? It's the wastewater, not just the campus wastewater, but the Point Loma wastewater. This gives us a really great picture of what's going on in the community of San Diego. So we get a sample right now once a week. It actually reflects 3 days of collection, and we look at it once a week. We're actually going to move to looking at each one of those 3 samples so we can get more rapid information from the wastewater. Not only do we look at what this picture is kind of the amount of viral activity in the wastewater. On the next slide, you'll see that we're able, there you go, keep going. Yeah, you see this nice number of 1100, it's staying pretty stable. We look at the variants that are in the wastewater. And here you see where Delta was really replaced by the early BA1 and the BA1.1, which is what we mostly think of as Omicron. There's been a little bit of that BA2 floating around for a while. But it hasn't seemed to take off in our community, and that may be the way it is. We're going to watch it very carefully. And the question of whether it actually starts to replace BA1 and we have more BA2, the real important part is how much viral activity do we have in the community? Not just what are the variants, but how much of those variants are circulating in our community. So this wastewater tool is going to remain in place, and it will be a signal not only for our campus, but for all of San Diego County. Next slide. So here's some key points. The variants are overlapping. They're not all the same. The BA2 is spreading in certain parts of Asia. You're hearing it in China as well as in Europe. And disease severity is similar to BA1. It is a risk for the unvaccinated community or the not up to date with vaccination. Our boosting protects against both of those. That BA2 variant's been in San Diego, and actually we've seen it on campus for a while. It doesn't seem to be taking over. So I think overall, we're in a really good space within our community, and the monitoring, all the tools will remain in place. Next slide. So on our campus, we continue to have the same tools. You can see it on the dashboards. We look at on and off campus students. We've had a few small numbers. We were talking about single digits. We're no longer having those incredible days of January. And even for early March, where it was often in double digits, it's now been pretty consistently in single digits. Some of that reflects spring break and less folks being around, but you also see on the campus employees to the right that we're really having very few campus employees testing positive recently. So all of this is very encouraging. Next slide. Here you see it profiled in another ways. We look at the tool, comparing ourselves to the county, both the absolute percentage of tests that are positive, also the rate on a population basis. So we do a lot more testing in the community. So we may be picking up a little more positivity because of the easy access to tests and more positive cases. But by and large, the trends suggest a really favorable situation. Next slide. So here's our vaccination rate. We've got over 93% of our student bodies vaccinated. This also includes the extension students. On our employee side, we still have a little bit of a gap over here. We'd like to get both of these numbers well past 95% of our community being up to date with a vaccination compliance, including those that appropriately have exemptions that are also following the requirements for unvaccinated individuals for testing. And we'll cover that in a minute. So we're doing really very well, reminding folks that boosting as well as primary vaccination, if you've not done that, is available at the Price Center, both for students as well as employees. Next slide. And the health system sites are also available. Wastewater on campus looking really great. The Christmas trees, which at one point were very red, now are very green. So we'll continue to monitor the local wastewater as well, both in our residential buildings on the left, as well as some of our campus operations buildings on the right. So by and large, very encouraging picture here. Again, take advantage of what's available on the RTL site. These are publicly available information. Next slide. So what's going on with the booster and definitions, reminding everybody, fully vaccinated. It means if you've had a boost, great. It's 7 days ago, you're now fully vaccinated. Or if you're not yet eligible for a boosting dose, then you're fully vaccinated. You're not fully vaccinated if you just got your dose within a couple of days, or if you've completed your series and you're eligible and you haven't gotten a booster, you're no longer fully vaccinated. Or you never completed your initial series, or you're someone who has an appropriate exemption, an approved exemption, and you've never been vaccinated, and you're not going to be vaccinated. You fall into the not fully vaccinated category. Next slide. Now, boosting does fall under the mandate. So there is a requirement to be up to date with your vaccination unless you have an approved exemption. If you got an exemption for primary vaccination, that also covers the boosters. Once you become eligible, you don't fall out of compliance that minute, but you have a period of time in which to get your boosting. For campus employees and students, that's 30 days. If you're a healthcare worker, it's a little shorter. It's 15 days. So once you become eligible, please get that boosting dose. If you've had a recent COVID infection, we extend that period by another 90 days, and that will be available to you in your My Chart or My Student Chart. You'll see whether you're now ready for your booster dose or not, or you're up to date if all your vaccinations and boosting will be recorded in your health record. Next slide. So the testing, if you're not vaccinated or you're not up to date, it's twice a week. That is still in place. So please, if you are coming to campus for any reason, you need to continue with twice weekly testing. Symptoms, regardless of vaccination, please test. The symptoms can be quite mild. So don't ignore mild symptoms. Make sure you're not shedding virus and potentially putting others at risk. If you've been exposed to a known positive case, you test as soon as you're aware of that exposure on day 5. That's regardless of vaccination. Wastewater testing, it's regardless of vaccination. Please test unless you're someone who's recently had a COVID infection. The vending machines are fully up and operational. We have a daily pickup. That last pickup is by 2 p.m. So please get your tests in early to try and get your result at night. Remember to capture the barcode on the vial. That's how we know it's your test. And please, please do not use your identity to get someone else a test. That is actually medical fraud. It's considered a criminal action. It's a problem in terms of the results and for us knowing how to help folks when we get those results. So please don't share your identity to get someone else a test. Next slide. Okay, masking. Here's the great news. We're no longer requiring indoor masking except for a couple settings, and they are the classroom instructional settings. They will also be for the residential students for the first week and they return from break. Also, I forgot to put on here the clinical settings. So at the Student Health Center, the Price Center testing and vaccination site, as well as where CAPS is seeing students as well, we do mask in those areas, and we also mask on public transportation. I apologize that I didn't get that in here. So remember, if you're using our buses, any of our public transportation, you do need to mask. We have Kennedy 95s and 95s available at the Price Center and the Trove. If you don't have that and you're choosing to use a surgical mask or a cloth mask, we ask that you do both of those together. All right, so it's really important. We're going to monitor the situation and we'll change guidance if we have to as the spring quarter unfolds. Next slide. And I just want to let everybody know that the daily symptom screener has been updated. It now integrates your vaccination boosting status along with symptoms and exposure, giving you a green, yellow, or red thumb. So you can get a red thumb for a variety of reasons, because you have symptoms, because you've been exposed and you're not vaccinated, or you're not up to date with your vaccination, or you've not been compliant with testing requirements. All of those things can result in a red thumb. So just keep an eye, and you'll know your own situation as to why you're getting a red thumb and then how to remedy it. Next slide, I believe. We are now handing over to my friend Terry Winbush from HR.
Thank you, Angela, and hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us at the town hall today. So I know that this is a very contentious topic, as has already been evidenced in the Q&A. So the first thing I will talk about is the indoor masking requirement changes that went into effect on Monday. So regardless of vaccination status, all individuals will be required to mask in indoor classroom and instructional settings. And I know a lot of people are like, what are instructional settings? And so more guidance will be provided on the RTL website imminently, in clinical areas and on our Triton University transportation. Otherwise, masking is optional. The key to that is, if you start requiring someone to be masked around you, that means masking is not optional, and then is contrary to what the policy that has been put in place by leadership requires. So I understand that there are personnel who are uncomfortable with folks being around them unmasked. You wear your mask. We had the great fortune of talking to some colleagues earlier today from enrollment management who have some great suggestions on signage that you can place around your workspaces that will help manage your personal experience. And those signage, those signs will not tell other people whether or not they should wear masks, because masks will be optional in the spaces where masks are optional. So I'll say that again, where we have determined in leadership that masking is optional, masking is optional. So reminders about that. In masking optional spaces, it is the individual's decision to mask or remain unmasked. Do not ask anyone to remove their masks or to mask in masking optional spaces. Let them make their individual decision. Do not suggest that they should, either directly or passively. For example, your sound is a bit muffled. Could you, don't do that. It would be really great if I could see your facial expression. Now, I'm one who gives a lot of facial expression, and I know that sometimes people truly enjoy it. But if I'm wearing my mask, don't ask to see my facial expression, because I am not going to give it to you. You should not ask that question. Do not judge folks who decide to wear their masks, and do not judge the folks who decide to go unmasked in spaces that are mask optional. So I really want you all to hear this. I understand it's a change. I understand that it will take time to take this in, but please manage yourselves and try not to manage other people. Next slide. As Angela stated, the vaccine mandate is still in force. Notices will be going out this week. So pre-notices went out last week, just letting everyone know. We have you on the list as not being compliant. So here's your chance to get yourself compliant before we actually begin that process of sending out notices of non-compliance. Remember, new employees have 2 weeks from their start date to demonstrate full vaccination. If something happens with your access, or you can't get your MyChart set up, or whatever the case may be, make sure your HR contact knows. And we are reasonable people, because the goal is compliance, not discipline. So make sure that you're staying in communication if you're having any trouble, and we will take that into account. If you are not yet eligible for your booster, you have 30 days from when you become eligible to get boosted. If you've had COVID in the last 90 days, there's an automatic temporary medical exemption that's built into our dashboard that will allow you 90 days post your positive PCR test to get yourself boosted. Remember, again, the goal is compliance, not discipline, but we will take those necessary steps. So please, please do not challenge the system just to see if we are actively engaging in this. The next thing I wanted to talk about is it's performance appraisal season time. So a couple of town halls ago, I shared with you all, if you are like me, thinking about your accomplishments and goals under a time crunch for your self-appraisal will make sure that you forget something and will cause you undue anxiety. Don't do that to yourself. Start making those notes right now about how amazing you are. Yes, your supervisor probably knows how great you are, but they have requirements and responsibilities and their own self-appraisal to do as well, pretty often. And so you're just helping to remind them of your amazingness. And so document those things and look at your appraisal from last year. And what have you achieved that was a goal of yours that was in last year's appraisal? And don't feel bad if you didn't achieve all your goals. There have been a lot of competing factors. Just renew that goal this year, if that makes sense. But congratulate yourself for the things that you have accomplished, because we have done a whole lot together, and it truly does matter to the environment that we're creating for the students, for our colleagues as employees, et cetera. Next slide. So last town hall, we talked about reviewing and revisiting flexible work arrangements for staff. This is important. The thing that you should all know is the final flexible work arrangements policy has been issued. It looks a little bit different than the initial draft policy because we did look at all of the feedback that we received from everyone, and it took us a little time. I will admit that, but we wanted to get it right and take into account everything that had been shared. But please remember, operational needs should drive flexible work arrangements. Don't be unnecessarily inflexible. If you're a supervisor and you really like seeing your people, don't make your operational need that you really like seeing your people. Make it really about driving your operations. And remember, to be the employer of choice, we need to consider flexible options that meet those operational needs. One thing to ask yourself is, if you lost your staff today, or if you had to hire a new staff member today, what flexible options would you provide to secure their candidacy? And if you would provide them something more flexible than what you're currently providing to your current staff, you probably should relook at it and offer more flexibility. Check in often on how well their flexible work arrangements are working and make adjustments, because flexible's in the title. I don't know how often I have to say that to people in a given week, but flexible is in the title because we need to be flexible and change when necessary. Lastly, and I'm kind of sad that I have to now sort of be on this grace series, but there have been too many examples every week, and in some cases every day, that make me know that it's important to remind you all to show each other grace. I know that there's a lot going on. I know that things are stressful. I know that you want your thing done now, or you feel like this is the most urgent thing ever, even though maybe you procrastinated on it for a while. But please know, number one, everyone does not know necessarily what you know, what's going on in your mind, what competing factors are going on. So share it with them and also show them grace. You don't know what's necessarily going in the other person's mind. Ask them and show them grace. But the key here is show them grace. Don't get attitudes with people on email, on the phone, in Zoom calls. Show grace. Assume that they actually probably were trying to do it right. And maybe they weren't, and you'll find that out. But don't initially assume that. Show them grace. Please be kind to others who you communicate with. There has been an uptick in people being rude to our partners on the testing support line and in COEM. And I'll tell you all, I was shocked to hear some of the things that our employees are saying to our colleagues who are just trying to help them through a difficult time. They've either tested positive, they've been exposed, they've been hung up on, they've been told, I wish you would die. They've been told really disturbing things. Please, y'all, be good to each other. Don't say those things to people. Take a deep breath before you react, please. When they reach out, it's not a scam. They're responsible for following up on symptom screening and other indications that they receive. They're just trying to help. Please be kind to them. But also, please know, if we find out who's saying these things, we will follow up with you and your supervisor, because that behavior cannot be tolerated. I hate that we are continuing to have this discussion, but I will remind you forever, please show grace. Be kind to people. Grace still and forever. If you don't think about anything after this town hall, please remember to show each other grace. I'm going to turn it back over to Hallie now. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Terry, for that very, very important reminder about being collegial with each other all the time. Appreciate it. So now shifting gears a little bit, we're going to shift over to talk about some opportunities for staff learning and growth. So it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague in HR, Ann Curtis, our Director of Staff Learning and Development. So Ann, passing it over to you.
Thank you so much, Hallie, and thank you, Terry. It's always an important reminder and for us to keep that at the center of all we do. One of the other things that we hope can be at the center of what you think about is how we can continue to learn and grow in different ways. So what I wanted to do today is just share a little bit of an update about what resources are available to you as a UC San Diego staff member from Human Resources in terms of learning and development opportunities. There's a lot that has changed in how HR provides learning opportunities, and there's a lot that's in development. So I wanted to give you kind of a snapshot of where we are today, a forecast of things to come, and hopefully have an opportunity to come back one day soon and share some updates. So basically wanted to kind of lay the landscape by sharing that we really provide opportunities in these 5 areas. We want to give you ways to structure and guide your career, and we'll talk a little bit more about that program, which is called Career Connection and offers a full suite of services to help you in that. We also want to give you tools to help you grow as a team. Maybe that's because you're the manager or leader of a team. Maybe it's because you're an HR contact. Maybe it's because you're a team member and you want to support your team in ways to grow together. We also want to provide tools and support for any stage of the managerial journey, from contemplating being a supervisor all the way to senior leadership. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. We're also working on starting to coordinate and continue to develop opportunities for what we call role-based training. It's the opportunity to build skills and knowledge in your current role. Maybe that's a role that you're just beginning. Maybe it's a role that you are growing in your skill set in. And that's one of the things that, Hallie, I'm hoping with your permission, I may come back in a month or two and share some updates around that. We've got some great partners that have already been doing a lot of work in this area, including research administration. And we're continuing to build this out. So more to come on the role-based training for sure. And then we want to make sure that there are ways that you can develop your overall professional abilities. Those are the kind of professional development opportunities that apply to lots of different kinds of roles. So that's sort of the landscape. Sometimes there's a lot of information, and so I wanted to kind of provide a little bit of a map to help you navigate it. One of the things I wanted to let you know is that we are undertaking a very substantial revision of our blank pages. One of the things that we heard from you loud and clear is that there's a lot of great resources and information on the human resources pages that pertain to staff education and development, but that they were not always easy to navigate. They were not always easy to find the information for. So we're redoing them and encourage you to explore those pages as they change. If there's anything on one of these slides that you want to be able to visit, thank you to our magic behind the scenes folks who are putting things in the chat. We have sort of snipped these slides and put them in a PDF so you can come back and reference these. Okay, let's do a quick whirlwind tour of some of these resources. You have the PDF to explore. Please, if you have follow-up questions, you can reach out anytime to staffeducation@ucsd.edu and get answers to your questions or guidance on how to access any of these things. Okay, next slide, please. So the first area that we wanted to just kind of give you a overview of what we're doing in the space is managerial and leadership. And we've identified 5 key stages on the development journey to senior leadership. Again, that goes from identifying your interest in being a supervisor and helping you develop the skills to be a highly effective supervisory candidate. Then we recognize that as people move into supervisory positions, they need some help in onboarding, whether that's onboarding to to being a supervisor at all, or maybe just to being a supervisor at UC San Diego. We think of this as kind of like your lower division general education requirements for getting your degree in management, metaphorically. The third stage is really deepening those competencies and making them a little bit more individualized as you continue on in developing these skills. That's what we think of as sort of the like upper division major requirements, a little more specific upper division classes, kind of deepening your skills. And then you're ready to move on potentially to that fourth stage, which is really building the organizational effectiveness tools for all of our middle managers in higher education, right? Like what does that really take to be effective in higher ed at UC San Diego in that kind of middle manager level? And then of course, wanting to make sure that we continue to offer opportunities for our senior leaders. We had to start somewhere in building out additional tools and support for this. And so we decided to prioritize the second and third of those stops on the development subway. So in that second space, we've really focused on tools for onboarding. We've made a significant set of revisions to our supervisory laboratory program, which is kind of our survey course for new managers. Terry and I lead a series of core courses on building inclusive teams and trust, setting expectations and norms, communication tools. And then the life cycle series really helps managers kind of learn how to support employees at many stages of life cycle. We're continuing to work on some of the programs in that third subway stop space where you're really deepening those competencies. Wanted to highlight just a few of them. The Strive program is alive and well, and we're very grateful to our current Strive group, which has helped us not only sort of make it through the pandemic and some internal transitions, but has also really given us great guidance on how we can make this program bigger and campus-wide, building off of its incredible strength over the last almost 20 years. The UC Women's Initiative is a system-wide program, and there is lots more information available on our website and also on the UC website. We did just want to highlight that their current application cycle ends on March 25th. So there's still time. If you're interested, find out more and submit an application. And then the MSAT program. So that's kind of just a high level view of what we've got for managerial leadership. Lots more to come. There's a ton of work happening in this area. Again, we'd love to come back and share updates periodically. Next slide, please. Okay, professional development. So this is the stuff where you're interested potentially in building your skills that are not role specific, right? This is an opportunity to build skills that might apply in lots of different roles. What we wanted to do here is really put you in the driver's seat for how you want to learn. So in each of a set of theme areas, we have kind of built 3 layers of learning opportunities, or in the process of building 3 layers of learning opportunities. The first one is the opportunity to just explore. These are low cost or no cost. We prioritize no cost opportunities to just learn more on the topic. So that is really being curated as a library of on-demand resources for you to go in. Those might be articles, they might be e-courses, they might be TED Talks. There are places where kind of experts in this area have really found value, pretty quick, no cost or low cost opportunity to just explore. We also have the Learning Boost series as part of this, which is a series of kind of idea webinars, hour-long, drop in. We're building a recorded library of them, chance to kind of hear from different leaders across campus and some external partners on different topics. If you want to go deeper and you want to build skills, we're working on creating a set of practical skills training series. Again, focusing on making these available to lots of folks on campus. We've got a great first start with that in our project management program, which is called the Project Management Practical Skills Training Program. And it's a fabulous program. And again, there's more information about it on Blink. If you want to go deeper still, we want to connect you with resources that allow you to get certification or pursue degrees in these areas, or connect you with external vendors that do certification in different programs. So that's kind of the model here. You can see on the right-hand side the tracks that we're starting with. There'll be more eventually, but we're starting with these, and the ones that are in bold already up. That doesn't mean we have necessarily things in all parts of the explore, build skills and beyond framework, but that we do have at least some of the explore pieces, and we're working daily to build these out and get more of them in your hands. So that's kind of what we're doing in terms of professional development. Encourage you to go and take a look around. If you have feedback, please reach out to us. If you have ideas, please share them. We'd really love to do this in partnership. Next slide, please. Okay. Our third area, and I have to say this is one of the areas that is really exciting because this is one of the areas that's been up and running for a while, and you can access everything that's on this slide today. So this is our Career Connection program, and the Career Connection program, which is managed and run by Amy Clay in partnership with others across human resources, has a ton of different tools. We just chose to highlight 5 of them here, concrete things that you can do today to help kind of advance your career, prepare for and execute some of those plans. So the first one is you can attend workshops. There are workshops that are offered regularly. Most of them are virtual today, and they give you everything from opportunities to learn more about resume writing to looking at opportunities in mid-career, just a whole host of really great programs that are available. The second thing you can do is you can sign up for an individual development plan consultation. There's some pre-work to do, and then there's an opportunity to really connect and learn more about how to make the most of that tool. You can also go online to take a SkillScan assessment. Just put in SkillScan and Blink into Google, and it will take you right there. This is an assessment that is licensed by Human Resources to enable you to take this at no cost. And it really gives you an opportunity to kind of look at what your key skills are and some different ways that you can use them. The fourth one is to register for the My UC Career account. And in that account, then again, it's a free service provided by University of California. You can access 6 self-paced modules as well as a host of other tools. So again, encourage you to access that free resource. And then a little bit down the road, start getting ready now to apply in September to be a mentor and or a mentee in the staff mentorship program. Really powerful way to not only support others as a mentor and develop your own skills as a mentor, but also be to get the benefit of the experience of others, of your colleagues at UC San Diego. So that's what we've got in terms of career development. We've got one more area we're going to talk about in terms of kind of domains that I was talking about at the beginning. Next slide, please. And thank you for the clarification. So yes, mentors can apply anytime, and we're always looking for more mentors. So please, if you're interested, go ahead and submit that information today. So we also wanted to share some resources around what we call team services. So this is the place where you're interested in helping your team build. Again, that might mean that you're the leader of a team, but it might mean you're a team member. And you want to think about ways to help the team grow in their ability to be effective together. So we have 2 different ways that you can engage these tools. You can go to these team services toolkits. Again, we're putting things out ready for you to use today. We're continuing to build these. So we started with kind of the blueprint and some of the initial pieces, and we're continuing to build resources every single month on these. So there are resources for team building activities. There are toolkits that are coming that should be posted imminently on how to do some of your own work for Clifton Strengths, if you're interested in that. And for those who might be interested in supporting a 360 evaluation, there's tools for that as well. If you're like, that's great, I love having toolkits, but I still want some one-on-one time to really understand how to use these or tailor these to our needs. Then we encourage you to sign up for a 30-minute consultation with a member of the HR staff education and development team. And if you just email that email address, again, same one, staffeducation@ucsd.edu, I'll be happy to connect you to those resources. So almost done. One more thing I wanted to share, if I could get the next slide, please, is to just let you know we are very excited to be implementing a significant upgrade to our online content library. So some of you may be very familiar with Skillsoft. Some of you may not even realize that we had this resource, but this is another thing. It's licensed by Campus HR and available to all staff. And it is a giant library of e-courses, of videos, of books, and just a ton of different resources. You can access, historically, you were able to access this either through UC Learning or through a separate portal. One of the challenges with Skillsoft in the past, though, was there was a ton of stuff. Some of it was amazing and some of it was not so amazing because it was older, maybe not as relevant. And it was kind of hard to find stuff because there was so much there. So one of the things that Skillsoft has done is upgraded to a new interface called Percipio. And it's going to make it much easier for you to find great stuff, to plan to take great stuff, and to get access to things that might be of interest to you. So we're hard at work on this implementation. This content will be integrated directly into the UC Learning Center. That will be the only way to access it in the future, and it'll be a lot easier to access. So we just want to let you know this is coming. Whole new library of really great content from Skillsoft that'll be available at no charge to all staff at UC San Diego. And with that, I'm going to pass it back. And again, just with the hope that if I can, I will come back soon and provide some updates, because this is evolving real time, and that you'll reach out to staff education at ucsd.edu if you have questions. Thanks, Hallie.
All right, thank you so much, Anne, for all that great information. So today I've been really appreciating seeing some kudos and shout outs to our panelists coming in through the Q&A. It's more important, I would say, these days more than ever to do that. So on that note, on a very related topic, I'd like to introduce our next and final panelist, my colleague Iman Agrama-Minert. She's the chair of the Staff Association Marketing and Communications Committee, and she's going to tell us about a new program she's got in the works. So Iman, passing it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Hallie. And thank you, Anne, for sharing those important and very uplifting opportunities for staff development. I love them all, and they're very exciting. And hi, everyone. Again, my name is Iman, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm super thrilled to be here with you today to tell you about this new initiative we have going on. It's called Shines and Shout-Outs. So what are Shines and Shout-Outs? One of our new Staff Association Marcom goals is telling staff stories and unlocking the authentic narratives of our dynamic staff here at UC San Diego. It's been a long pandemic, and we created Shines and Shout-Outs to just jumpstart this specific goal of learning more about each other as staff and celebrating our contributions. A shine, and we haven't gotten any of these, actually we got one, but I want more of these. A shine is an opportunity to share about yourself and how you shine as a staff member. Our staff community wants to hear about your unique story and your innovative contributions. A shout out is something you can give to a staff member, a staff colleague, your entire team, appreciating how they contribute to the collective staff experience here at our great university. We are all such unique and interesting people, so let's shout it out. But why? Why should we shine and shout out? When people ask me why, I love to say, why not? In this case, we know we are truly amazing as a Triton staff community. And I don't know, why wait until performance appraisal time when no one else actually gets to see that anyway, unless you share it? And why not share widely with each other as soon as possible about how amazing we are? Great news, it's free, super easy to fill out the form, and there's no limit on how many shines or shout outs you can submit. When you do submit a shine or shout out, we will spotlight the stories in upcoming Staff Association newsletters on our website and on Instagram. I know everybody loves Instagram, right? So you're about to get on our Instagram if you're not already on it. I do have a few submissions that I'd like to share with you all today. Some of our first few shine and shout out submissions. Next slide, please. All right, we have Alaric Bermudez, who is an analyst with conference and guest services at HDH. Alaric, you have been an amazing support and influence upon a brand new TES employee you supervised. You've inspired their success in landing a career position here at UC San Diego, and your staff is grateful for how you shine in connecting with people and going above and beyond to help both students and staff. Next, we have Alice Gregus, who is the Associate Director of the Corporate Affiliates Program. Alice, you've stepped into a new department and a new role at a very busy and stressful time during the pandemic. You transitioned into your new role seamlessly with patience, grace, and a stellar work ethic. Your team feels especially lucky to have you on board. Next slide. Jenny Morrow is the Fiscal Manager in Computer Science and Engineering. Jenny, your team believes you are an incredible supervisor through your example and leadership. You've inspired with purpose and a desire to constantly learn and improve alongside your team. They are shouting you out with so much gratitude. Sarah Vogel is a financial analyst with UC San Diego's Extension. Sarah, you are extremely helpful and knowledgeable when it comes to navigating the UC San Diego workplace. Your coworkers feel very lucky to work alongside you and also to call you a friend. Next slide, please. Jennifer Mora is the educational facility planner in UC San Diego's campus planning. Jen, you are getting a shout out for your consistent approach and cultivated expertise in moving projects forward. Your team appreciates your excellent communication skills and believe that that makes you a delight to work with. We have the basic needs team with Alicia, Chelsea, Cameo, Marisa, Sarah, Kayliana, and Nydia. You are a small but mighty group who has logged numerous hours, pivoted, and creatively met the rising and challenging needs of our students throughout this pandemic. You've remained working in person the entire time, and you were able to support our most vulnerable students along the way. During this time, you also accomplished opening a new pantry in the graduate and professional housing area and securing county approval for 12 graduate programs for CalFresh. What an amazing reason to give a shout out to a selflessly dedicated team. Next slide, please. And finally, I want to shine a light upon a superbly creative team that has been making the magic flow with all of the Staff Association marketing and communications work that you've been seeing through the newsletters, websites, social media, etc., including making these shines and shout outs happen. This is all volunteer work, and we have so much gratitude. We have Chilla Chori, who's our wizard on our website, keeping it fresh, organized, and popping. We have Justin Glover, who is leading our content on Instagram and creating engaging and fun-filled Instagram stories. Sarah Andrade creates the informative monthly newsletter and coordinates the Shine and Shout Out nominations. And then we had Jose Santa Cruz and Sherry An, who helped us out in 2021 and may come back to the committee soon. And then finally, me. I absolutely love working with this fabulous team. I love our flow. I love, the time that I get to steal away and work on all of these creative projects as the Marcom chair. And I get to just to contribute my design and photography skills too. Next slide, please. So don't forget to check out our upcoming events. So in addition to Shines and Shoutouts, Staff Association, we are up to a lot of good stuff, and we want to see you, excuse me, especially because we're going back, or we've been back to doing things in person. So we have our next 3 Triton Treats. They're scheduled to be in person. Hopefully everything goes well and continues going well with the pandemic. And we really hope to see you at one or even all of these. You might see me there snapping photos and asking your permission to post those photos. Next slide, please. In terms of shines and shout outs, you can always find I know the link is going to be in the chat, but you can always find the link to submit shines and shout outs on our website. It's right there on the main landing page at staffassociation.ucsd.edu. And I just did a little screenshot there so you can see what it looks like. You kind of scroll down when you land on the page, and it's that middle blue box there. Super easy, and it'll take you into a Google form. Next slide, please. All right. So finally, I'm gonna check right after I'm done how many new followers we have, because we want you to follow us on Instagram. The people who are already following us, the staff members who are already following us, they're loving it. They're having a great time. They're getting tagged. They're tagging us in their experiences as staff. So we want you to follow us. It's that simple, at UCSD staff. And you'll get to see the shines and shout outs on there as well. And that does it for me. Back to you, Hallie.
All right, that was like such a great, energizing presentation, Iman. Thank you so much. And thank you to your committee for all the great work you do. As you mentioned, it's volunteer work. So It's a great way to connect with other staff members and just get more engaged in the life of the university. So thank you so much for that. I'd now like to welcome Terry and Angela back on screen with me, and we'll move into some Q&A based on the questions that were submitted in advance of the event, and also some of the questions we're seeing today. So one of the questions that I've seen pop in the most today relates to boosters. So Angela, let's start with you. And the question is, are third booster shots still effective? Do we need a fourth booster? And will UC San Diego offer additional boosters? So what kind of updates can you give us?
Yeah, so I think the science is still evolving to find out how long the booster is going to hold for. Just because the first was a 5-month, we can't assume it's going to be that, although we do think it's not going to be prolonged. So I think we should all be prepared to need a fourth booster. Right now, immunocompromised individuals are eligible for boosters. We're watching this closely to see when we get a green light, probably on a federal level, that we can start administering boosting doses, and what the time frame will be, whether it'll be again a 5-month or maybe it'll be 7-month. We will be prepared. We're keeping all of our operational ability to be able to boost the campus community. And I'm sure the health system similarly will take care of patients as well as the campus community at those sites. So we are anticipating, we just don't know when the trigger is going to be pulled for those boosting doses. But I would assume it's going to be a lot like your flu shot. You're going to need at least once a year, maybe more. We'll see. So it's evolving.
Watch and wait. All right.
Watch away, and we'll keep you updated, and we'll make sure we have access for everybody.
All right. Thank you, Angela.
Sure.
Question I think could go to either one of you. If there is a surge in cases, will masking be mandated again?
Yeah, I think we have to be prepared that these public health measures, when you start to have surges which have significant impact and cause morbidity and mortality and impact on operations, and that's what we saw in January a lot, when, hundreds of our colleagues were out and ill, it really affects operations, and you have to start instituting more public health measures to control it for the good of everyone. What we're in now is a relatively good level of vaccination and boosting, which reduces severity of disease, so less impact when anyone becomes ill on the health system, as well as individuals being able to kick back and return more quickly, and lower viral activity. So those two things combined allow us to pull back on some of those public health measures. That could turn. If we get a variant that's significantly different in terms of its morbidity or its ability to escape the serious disease prevention that current vaccines and boosters have, then we would have to really think things about. I think we're all encouraged that what's happening is serious disease is dramatically coming down, and that then also starts bringing down viral activity and transmissibility. This virus, though, replicates a lot and very quickly. So that's its ability to come up with a new idea, a new variant, a new mutation that gives it an advantage. That's the Darwin theory. We have seen it play out. If we remember our biology, we have seen a real example of it. So yeah, we will have the ability and we'll follow what we think is the best thing to do to keep the campus community safe. But for now, when we can drop those things, let's celebrate, let's enjoy, let's get back to all the great things that we have not been able to do for the last couple of years.
All right, great. Thank you, Angela. Terry, this next question is for you. Is UC or campus taking inflation into account in decisions regarding merit or cost of living increases this year? And what can you share about plans for policy covered employees?
Yeah, that's a big question that we've been getting. So first, the thing that I want to remind you all is often any salary programs are system-wide decisions. So that's first. Second, the Office of the President, are they considering those things? Yes, we are all feeling the pain at the pump, but we are also watching some people's loved ones and friends be impacted by the things that are going on overseas. So let's not forget sort of the real impacts that are happening to people. But yes, we know that inflation is real. We know that the pain at the pump is real. those things are factored in and still may yield no difference in ultimately the percentage amount allowed in the salary program if there is a salary program announced, because there are a number of factors that go into those decisions. So the other thing to remember is that there's our policy covered population, then there's our represented population, and the represented increases are driven by the collective bargaining agreements subject to the negotiated circumstances that go on there. And so those agreements, to the extent that they are still in effect for a couple of years, et cetera, represented employees can check those agreements to see what they have coming by way of increases. But for policy covered personnel, as soon as we know something from the Office of the President, we will share it out broadly and widely, because we all want to know too, those of us that are policy covered and impacted. So thank you for that question though, Hallie.
All right. This next question I'm going to pose to myself. It's a question that I saw come in a couple times before the event. So if you'll recall, last month, we shared some information about departments, plans in the works for departments to be able to order bulk KN95 masks. We got a couple questions. What's the update about that? So I reached out to some colleagues, and the update I have to share is that the Return to Learn team has been waiting on some back-ordered mask inventory for several weeks. So they made a decision to direct efforts toward offering masks to students heading off to spring break and heading back from spring break. So the team is going to kind of reassess this program, especially in light of the changes to our masking policy on campus. So we'll provide updates about departments ordering those masks as it was intended, which was at no cost to the department. That's not set up yet, but in the meantime, campus employees can pick up free KN95 masks at the Price Center East, the Trove, and the Basic Needs Hub. And if your department needs to purchase larger quantities for things like events, you can still place those orders just like you had before through the Oracle page. And in just a second, I'll put that link in the chat. So the page, it's the COVID PPE page on Blink. So I'll put the link in the chat. But the program that was being developed to order them at no cost, that's currently just being reassessed right now due to these inventory challenges. So we'll provide more updates as they become available. So now that I've answered that question, let's send another question over to Angela. So this next one's for you. How concerned should we be about the Omicron subvariant and other variants to come? And I know you talked about this in your presentation, but maybe just give us a kind of a cliff notes of your thoughts on this.
Sorry, didn't come off. I think right now you keep an eye on it. I wouldn't be overly concerned. I think, there's a little bit of BA2 in our area, and the percentage may increase, but if the viral load in the community stays low, that won't be a big problem for us. There's not that much different from BA1 to BA2. We're still looking to see, are you vulnerable to reinfection? If you had BA1, can you get a BA2? We're watching carefully anyone we think may have a reinfection. So I can't give you that information, and the scientific community is watching it. So it's just we're gonna have to live with this virus and its variants, but I wouldn't let it stop things. And that's right now, you just keep an eye on it. But you just move forward and deal with the current situation we're in, and then adapt what we do in our behaviors to reflect our personal health situation and the community around us. And the public health measures that make sense at the time.
All right, thank you, Angela. I'm reminded about how grateful I am to work somewhere that has a medical system attached to it, and that we have access to folks like you, and that we're kind of the first to know about these things. So that's just,
we don't have Chip Schooley with us today. Chip is over in Arizona, but we really have some amazing minds, as well as Cheryl Anderson. There's so many people, Natasha Mark. We've just had some great folks who have just brought a lot of not only science, but thoughtful science, how to actually take that science and then translate it into caring for each other, which I think is really the art of medicine and the art of caring for folks. So we are very blessed.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's a good note to wrap up on. One thing I just want to share that's a little bit different. So just recently, the town hall switched from being a production of the Return to Learn program to now being sort of a production of human resources. So we've taken them in-house. So we're hoping the experience won't be that much different for you. But one thing that is a little bit different is where the recordings are posted. I've also seen a couple of requests come in for all these different links in the chat. And I think that's something we can put on this new Blink page. So I'm going to put this in the chat for you. This is a new Blink page about our staff town halls. You can find the recording from our most recent event, and you'll be able to find the recording for this event. And I'll also talk to our planning committee about putting those many links up there just so they can live in a permanent place. But with that, I just wanted to say thank you to all our panelists today. We covered a lot of ground, and thank you for being with us and taking an hour out of your day to be at our Staff Town Hall. And we'll see you next month. So thank you, everybody.